I was right about that. Because we're setting them here and they'll be available for use. Same with this. They're all getting set here, so no problems. So actually I was right the first time, or second technically. Well, technically first because it was made like that. Then I changed it, then I changed it back, changed it again, changed it back now. And here we are. So let's just start with a basic thing here. Let's say piercing damage. Now so here's the thing, this is going to be interesting. Let's not do piercing, that's going to be too complicated. Let's say, let's go ahead and say napalm. So we need to have several things here. First of which is, now how are we going to do this? We have to be able to set certain things that will affect the damage over turns. And this is a good place to actually do that right now, because it's going to be involved, I think. We'll have to change some stuff, add some stuff in, figure out how it's going to work. So we get good chance to do that right now. We need to find out a way that the damage can be carried over and done. Since damage is set on a as used basis, it's not going to be, it's not going to store any variables that need to be kept. So we need to figure out a way to store that information. How many turns damage is applied and the damage to be applied each turn, the secondary damage. So we need to figure that out. I think the easiest way would be to store it inside of battle processing, because it's part of the battle. It's going to be part of the processing. It's not, battle processing won't be using that information for anything itself, but it'll just pass it back to the damage class, so it can remember what the hell it just did, or what it set up, instead of having to have this be instanced and have a reference passed for it. So let's go to data system, to battle processing, and all those things got shoved down here. Battle proc and H. Oops. Alright, so in H we're gonna say float. So we're gonna say secondary damage. Well, maybe we won't have to. I just want to see. I want to do a test here. If I can do it this way, we won't have to worry about that whole thing. And we can actually put it in damage, but I'm not sure it'll work right. So what we're going to do is we're going to make another project here. Call it reference test. Next, empty project. This one's going to be a little more involved now. So we need a header file. New. H. We'll call it just reference. So if not defined, reference H. I think I spelled that thing correctly. Reference define okay, so class ref set void set val1 int I void set val2 int I. Okay, int get val1, int get val2. Val stands for value, by the way. Whoops, I had to put that in public space. And I don't think we need to have using namespace. Private int val1, int val2. I never get, let's see, PCH warning header stop cannot be in micro or if block. Well, now this is how you define a class. So I don't know what the hell Microsoft's trying to do with that. I just ignore it most of the time, but sometimes it gets annoying that they throw out that error. It's so retarded to actually do that. So this is actually how you're supposed to define a class. Not sure what the PCH file's for anyway. Probably some BS IntelliSense stuff that's not actually needed. So that's all we have to do for that. Actually, no, we do have to do the... Never mind, I lied. We have to do the implementation file, CPP file. Include... So, void ref set val1 int I val1 equals I. Void ref set val2 int I val2 equals I. Int ref get val1 return val1 int ref get val2 return val2. Alright, so now it's done. Now we have another item, another CPP file called main, as usual. Include IO stream using namespace std int main. Alright, so we also have to include reference, I suppose. A lot of int total val. We'll say 100, just for something generic. So int I equals 0. As long as I is less than r.get val2, which is the number of turns, then I++. Or we could do it the opposite way and say I equals this. Maybe we could do it that. It might be easier just to do it that way. r.get val2. I is greater than 0. I minus. I stop recording there for a second. Alright, so now we'll just take that there. First we need to do some other stuff. So, count. Please enter damage per turn. I'll say input. Alright, then say please enter number of turns. Okay, now we say r.set val1 input 1 r.set val2 input 2. Technically, you could do it this way. This actually wouldn't be. We need to do it a different way here. Total value, yes. This other stuff, yes. But the other stuff, no. So what we need to do is switch this over to here. Create another one here. Say we can get rid of the sets. We don't need to use set anymore. Just get. So void ref processing. So val1 equals input 1. Val2 equals input 2. And include and we'll add processing to here real quick. Okay, so we do that. And system CLS. Okay, and then we'll call that from here. So r dot processing. So now we'll say count player took r dot get val1 damage this turn. player health lowered to total val minus r.get val1 from total val. Then total val minus equals r.get val1. So it's not exactly the same as what's going to be happening over there, but in principle we're going to see if it works or not. I think it could work, but I'm testing it just to make sure, because that's a huge amount of code that we have to put in on something that we're not sure that works or not. Say if total val equals is either less than or equal to 0. I'm going to say bool player p dead equals true. If p dead break. We'll add that up here too. If then system pause again. All right. Excuse me. Then we want to go system CLS. Just clear off the screen again. All right. Let's try it out. Set project. Damage per turn. Okay, let's say we'll do 10 damage per turn for 10 turns. Sweet. So now let's say damage per turn is 8, and number of turns is 4. Boom. Yep, so it could work that way. As long as you don't instance the battle processing class, that reference will stay in there. So that's just what we'll do. That'll save a lot of code. And yes, we won't even need this stuff in here. Where was I putting it at? Oh, here. Okay, so secondary damage and alright, so We need to add a few things though, because we're also going to have to need to have a bool to use as a flag to determine if there is secondary damage to apply or not. Or rather, to see if there's any, well, to see if there's any turns left. Let's put it that way. That's a better way to do it. Not if there is damage, but if there are turns left. So we need to add a few things here. Alright, then we need an int for the number of turns. Int secondary damage turns, number of turns to apply secondary damage for, and then a bool. Say bool SD turns. Are there any turns we'll need to put up a let's see, so we want to return the float, process sec damage. I'm going to pass through, no, actually we don't need to, because again it's already part of the class. Then we also need to have a bool though. Bool get SD turns. So here's how this is going to work. Process S damage, float damage, process sec damage. Then bool damage get SD turns, and say return turn SD turns. So I don't know what the hell do they use for the SD turns, yeah. Return SD turns. Actually, we don't need that then. What am I thinking? We don't need the bool there, but we do need to have that returned. Because we're not going to be storing the number of turns, if there are turns or not. That'll already be there, and we'll just return a true or false if there are turns. We don't need to store that true or false for anything. SD turns, if they are greater than 0. Okay, so then what will happen is that before the damage is applied, so we have that we're going through this, we call it back, so we have the F damage, which is the final damage, and then we say if get SD turns and we say F damage plus equals process sec damage, and then we say SD turns minus equals 1. Check for secondary damage Then once that's been confirmed, we then pass this on to the player. So player take so start on shield damage, F damage. Now this would be if, so we have to do these if things now, because this is where we need the flags. Because remember, if you have a EMP weapon, okay, now EMPs don't kill the shields. So we have to consider all this other stuff too. But in this case, see, now if the armor is piercing 1, it's not going to hit the hull. If it's piercing 2, it's going to hit the hull but not the armor. If it's piercing 3, it's going to hit both. Which means that it'll flow over. So, what we need to do though is we need to be able to take into account those things, but that'll have to happen later on. I'm not going to be able to finish this month. I was hoping I'd be able to, but not going to be able to. But that's essentially how it works this way. Let's go ahead and fill out these last 2 functions just so I have them done, and then I'll go ahead and end this developers vlog series for this month. And we'll just take it from there in April. From here in April. So, process special damage. This is going to be really interesting. Let's again start with napalm, because that's a damage per turn situation there. So, and what we'll do is say that if you have a lower level and a higher level napalm weapon in the same attack cycle, that it'll be set to the highest value. So if you launch the lower one first, you have 2 turns, but then launch the higher one, you're still only going to have 6 turns, not 8. It'll merge the 2 together, but keep the higher levels turns and merge the damage together at a lower rate, obviously. So for example, let's say the napalm damage is going to be 20. So, and the higher level napalm damage is going to be 60. So we want to find 25% of 60 first off. I don't know how much you missed out on there. Actually, let me check and see how much you missed out on. Alright, so I kind of screwed up there. When I was explaining stuff, I had forgotten about the hitting the star button, the asterisk key on the number pad is, taboo for this kind of thing, because it actually cancels the recording. So, what I was explaining was you had to find the a lower value for the second napalm that you were going to use. And I used 20 and 60, or 20, 60, or 40 and 60 or something. But the thing was that we were going to take any values that were any additional damage from a napalm weapon, and take off a certain percent. So that's when it cut out, and then I started working on other things, and that's separating at sea. So we came down here to so we got this done, and we're talking about this, and then we came down to special damage, and I started putting these down here. So it's napalm and nanites that do the actual damage by turns. So I added the napalm things in here, and so what we have here is if weapon damage type is napalm 1, S damage equals V damage times napalm 1%, which is 15% for the secondary damage. Then we have this if there saying if SD turns is less than the number of turns listed for napalm 1 turns, set it to 2, because as I was saying during the part where I wasn't actually recording, what we're going to do is we're going to have the system say that if you have a certain number of turns already set, or if you don't have any turns already set to SD turns, or if there is a number there and it's lower than the number of turns for the current napalm weapon's secondary damage, then you're going to set it to the larger of the two. So in this case it's 0, so you set it to 2. Now if we did a napalm 3 first, which is 6 turns, and then we did a napalm 1, which is 2 turns, it would be, this wouldn't fire because SD turns would be 6, which is greater than 2. And so this wouldn't execute, and so you'd still only have 6 turns. Or however many turns there were left. So for example, if you wait 5 turns and you have 1 turn left, you can then change it back up to 2 with this. And then this will add into the other damage. It'd be kind of like a similar thing to juggling, because you'd be adding more napalm on top of what's there already. So you do the S damage from the attack 5 turns before, but then add more damage onto it to continue that damage with the new added damage with this. So that's kind of just a tactical kind of thing that you can do, is juggle the damage like that. But what I was trying to do here when I realized that this was off was to say, okay, we're going to figure out how much damage to apply for secondary damage if there's already damage applied. And I determined that that's going to be, you're going to do half the secondary damage you would normally do on all these, not just on Napalm 2. I just had been editing here. And I went through it and I realized what was going on, and that's when you saw that part where I said you might have missed some stuff. So let's go over this again. So let's say that we have 84 damage for an attack with a napalm bomb. That's going to be the first attack. So we're going to multiply that by, we'll say it's napalm 2 just for the sake of things, 0.28, so 0.28. So we get 23.52. Now, let's say we have another attack with a napalm 2 weapon, and this time it does 60 damage. So we're going to take that value. I'm actually going to write it down so I can remember it. 23.52. And we're going to say now, let's go ahead and clear that out. So now we're going to say 62 times 0.28. So 17.36. Now though, since we already have a value, a damage set here, indicated by this, if secondary damage is greater than 0.0, we're going to then multiply this again and chop it in half essentially. So then times 0.05 or 0.50. So then we're going to add that to the 23.52, and then you get 32.2 damage for secondary damage. Now let's say you do a napalm 3 attack on top of all that. So let me write down that real quick. 32.2. Let's say the napalm 3 damage is a lot more. Let's say it's 160. Now let's go 159. So 159, and you get to keep almost half of that damage for the secondary damage. So multiply that by 0.4846. So that's that. But we already have the secondary damage, so then we multiply that again by 0.50, and then we add that to the 32.2, and so you get 68.77. And that's how secondary damage will stack on top of each other. So go ahead and add this into all these. sure to change that to 3. And we need to add it here too. And change that to 1. Alright. So that's what's going to happen there. And so that's all the napalm done. That's all we need to do with that section there. Now we need to go back up for nanites. So nanite does a certain percentage of HP damage. So we need to do something a little different here. For this, we need to obtain, so actually we're probably going to need to pass this anyway into here. Since that's what's going to be happening, evidently. So, let's add this up here because we're going to need that for other things. I just realized we need to pass the player reference or player pointer so we can deal with that. We need to add that to here as well. Actually, just player. I don't know why I was thinking with that, so I need to put that over here though. Player. Okay. So now else if weapon damage type equals nanite 1. So 2 and 3. So now we need to go up here. Can we define multiple of these at once? So nanite Well, that sucks, we can't. I was hoping we could. So we'll just define them right underneath them then. Define, yes. Define crap. Yes, define crap. Nan T 3T8. And so we're also going to put the things up here, the percentages. So it's 5, 8, and 15%. Eight, that's right, yeah, that's so. Just want to make sure. And then, whoops. Okay, we come back down here now. And we say, so if nanite 1 set secondary down, well, we need to do the same thing with this though. So In this case, though, since the amount of damage is going to be tied to the player's health, we want to restrict it even more. We want to say 75% is what we're going to take off of it for extra secondary damage instead of 50. So, if S damage is greater than 0.0, F S damage plus equals 0.75 times V damage times nan 1p. Else S damage plus equals V damage times nan 1p. Except it's not V damage. In this case it's the player health, or player ship health. So we'll say that this is going to be damage to the shields, to all the different interfaces of health that the player has. That's true, because we're not dealing just with health now. We're dealing with, multiple layers of things. So, we need to do something different for that one. So actually we didn't need this after all. What we are going to need is nanite shield damage, nanite armor damage, and nanite hull damage. So S nanite shield damage. So instead of this, what we're going to say is, well, no, it does need to be additional, doesn't it, though? So V damage needs to be changed with player P ship. Then if SD turns Here's another thing though. We'll use 2 of these then, we'll have to, because there could be, you can use napalm and this at the same time. True. SDN A turns. We're going to say NAN turns. Is less than just a little extra tag there to see, to identify which ones are which. Let's see. Health interface. Oh, whoops. Alright, there we go. SD NAN turns equals NAN 1T. So now we take this and fill in each of these. Oops, that's 3, not 2. My mistake. Alright, so that does it for that. However, we need to have 3 more of these. Wait, what the hell? Crap. So NA, NA, NH, NH, and NH. So now we can take the last, these ones here, copy paste them down into here. Annoying, Maybe a little complicated, yes, but required for this instance. One thing we're going to do differently here is that well, I guess not. So SDN terms. And we need to go to that function we made as well. Now for this, we're not going to return a final damage value because this is going to be direct damage to everything ahead of time. So let's kind of go over an example of how this nanite stuff's going to work. So let's say that we have a ship that has crap, I closed the calculator. So I'm going to write down these values real quick so I can remember them. Let's say we have a ship that has 1025 health, or shield points, 925 armor points, and 560 hull points. And let's say that you use a level 3 nanite missile on them, and the original damage. Alright, that's right, damage doesn't matter for that. So we take the values and put them through this function, these things here. So why can't it find that for? Oh, it is 3p. Whoops. I did them all wrong. Or no, I didn't. No, yeah, I did. They're right. I think they are right anyway. So it should be nan, the number, then p. Nan 3p. So why aren't they displaying anything down here? That's just IntelliSense being a douche. So anyway, what it is, so it's crap, I lost 15, right? So it's 0.15. Then we're gonna have a level 2 next, so I'll put 0.8 up there too. Okay, that's written down. So let's say you use the third one. So this is the damage that would be output on that specific turn. So you'd have or the turn for, you know, for this secondary damage for this. So the shield, which is 1025, we said, so 1025 times 0.15. So 153. $75. Okay, the hull damage, which is 920, or was 1023, wasn't it? My mistake. So 153.45. Not that much of really a change. Okay, then 925 times 0.15, so 138.75 for the armor. And the hull points, which is 562, also times 15, and it's 84.3. Alright, now let's say you follow up that with a level 2 nanite bomb. Now let's also say that the player's health, let's say shield, has changed. Let's say that the nanite weapon took off, the level 3 weapon took off 250 damage, and then we added on the 153 damage for that turn. So that'd be let's see, so 250, 153.45. So we're adding and subtracting to. So that's 483.45 damage. So we'll take that off of the 1023. Alright, so 0, 9, 11, 12, 9, 10. Alright, so 5, 5, 9, 4, no, 3. 5. So we end up with 539.55 shield left. So when we go back through now, it's going to be using that value instead of the one I had before. So we calculate the shield out. Actually, let's make sure that value is correct, just to be a stickler here. Minus 48345. Yep. So we have this value now. So we want to multiply this by 0.08, and then we want to multiply it again by 0.75. So we get we had an additional 23 damage onto our original 53.45. So that becomes 185.7. That's gonna be a one more 0.82. So then that's how much damage now we'll have per turn to the shields. 185.82 per turn for secondary damage. And that's how that'll work. That's just to give you an idea of how that's going to work. So with this one we just go to we'll say F damage plus equals process sec damage, but we'll return 0 in this case. SD nan Okay, so now we got these done, we have to come down here and do this. So, let's see. This is processing the secondary damage, so we have to return the damage that's being done. So, pretty simply, we just say, if essentially we're just going to call this the whole thing up again that we did up here, the whole or where were they? Damn it! These bools here, we'll just call those back up again and use them to return the values or do what we need to do with those. So if SDN turns, if and we'll do an NF in here as well. SD and NAN turns. Because we need to, if they're both there, we need to be able to process both of them at the same time, but return the damage anyway. And then we'll say, well actually, no, we don't need to do that. Never mind. Because this is going to return 0 all the time, so we just put the return at the end. That'll work. So if SD nan turns, oh, get. Damn. But we could do it the other way instead of using get. We could just do that. But we already got those there, so even though they're probably useless. Well, no, because we're using something else. That's right. This is just returning if it's true that there are turns, not if a true statement from a bool. So I guess we do need this, which I already explained before. So if we have these, we need to just say TS, so total secondary damage. We need to add that to the header file. Alright, now we can do it. So essentially we just say then total S damage. Damage should have been a float, not net. That should go up here. Plus equals S damage. Now down here it's a little different. Actually, we do also need to pass the player pointer. Now that I think about it. So now, here's what we do. We say player dot pship dot set and we're going to set it to minus NS damage. And then we're just going to do the same thing for the other three. Ship armor, ship hull, and then return TS damage. So the nanites will do their damage before everything else. And that's essentially it right there. It's actually quite a bit of work. But that's going to end our developers vlog 4 for Space Crusade for the February development month. Thanks for watching this insanely long developers vlog series. I don't think we'll be doing another one this long for quite a while. I just wanted to do a little change of pace and get a little more in-depth with my coverage of the programming and all that. So we did pretty much all the programming I did this month. Got into this video. So if you watched every single video with every single minute, or if you watched every single minute of every single video, hats off to you. You got some powerful concentration and attention span there. Plus, you probably picked up a lot of good, edumacation, if you will, education on coding, or at least some tips and pointers. But thanks for watching. If you like these videos, feel free to like them, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. And I'll see you at the end of April, I believe. Yeah, because March is going to be, April.